we've got some new research out at the Australia Institute, which shows that Australia is the most expensive country in the OECD to send a kid to high school. It costs Australian families $4,967 a year on average to send a kid to high school, which is almost 4 times the average in the OECD. Greg, what are we doing here? What's going on?
Yeah, this comes from some really excellent research done by Sky Predovec here at the Australia Institute. Really interesting report that got quite a lot of attention because everyone's like, what the hell?
Yeah.
And yeah, really what's going on here is, look, I don't know if you've heard of a little bloke called John Howard.
I feel like we might have mentioned him a few times on this podcast, yes.
What John Howard very much wanted to do was essentially privatise Australia's education system. And so really started jacking up funding for private schools and, look, if I'm really cynical, underfunding public schools to make parents and families think, oh, maybe we should give the private school a go because the public school's underfunded and hadn't got the resources.
If you were a cynical man, you would say something like that.
And so we are, Australia across the OECD, so across all advanced countries, has the second highest rates of kids attending private high schools. Chile is the only one who's above us.
Interesting, yeah.
We are, I think it's close to 40% of Australian high school kids now go to private schools, whether it's Catholic or independent schools. That is a massive amount. And it basically means that the cost, because you got to pony up to go to these things, means on average the cost of sending kids to Australia to the cost of education, it means that average cost is so much higher than other nations because we've basically privatised our education system. And privatisation, I'm sorry to tell you, ain't cheap. It doesn't deliver cost benefits, and it actually doesn't even deliver, good services or better benefits for society. It does, deliver money going to certain places and certain organisations, but, this is the end result.
Yeah. So how much does Australia spend on, say, private schools versus public schools? Because the government does have to contribute a certain amount for each student to private schools as
well, they don't have to. I mean, this is the thing. It's a choice. Australian governments, and look, this is a historically long fight. Back in the 60s and 70s, this was a big fight over whether governments should fund private schools. In other nations, they don't.
Yeah.
If you're a private school, good luck to you.
Yeah, that's your choice.
And if governments in, I think it's UK and other places, if they fund a private school, that school can't charge fees. So, they might be a religious school and they get funding from the government, but they can't then go and say, well, it's going to cost $50,000 to come to this school. It's a free school. It's just the government is helping fund it. The states do most of the funding for public schools. The federal government is the one that does the non-government schools. It also does, however, kick in funding for public schools as well. And in this current financial year, the federal government spending $12.2 billion on government schools. Sounds nice.
Okay.
They're spending $20 billion on non-government schools.
Right. Yep.
What Sky's report found is that it's not like this is delivering any benefits. Because what's happening is, especially with some of these top-end private schools, that are charging $55,000 a year, it's not like they need to charge that to deliver the services. Because if that was the case, they wouldn't be able to afford to upgrade the swimming pool and get a new yacht club or whatever, indoor tennis courts and things like that, because you'd be like, oh, we're struggling. We got to charge $55,000 just to get the kids here. No, what's happening is they're actually charging that much because they actually want to keep it exclusive.
Yeah, they want the amenities like the, rifle range or whatever it is.
No, it's more we want to keep out the people who we don't really like.
It's a barrier to entry. Yeah.
In a sense, private schooling at a certain level has become a bit like, luxury goods like handbags and things like that. Louis Vuitton doesn't charge a shit ton for their handbags because they cost a lot to make. Yes, they might cost more than if, you're just churning them out.
Something off Shein.
But part of that thing that they're doing is we want these to be exclusive. There's a benefit to us in it being exclusive. And it's the same with going to King's College.
Yeah.
They're not charging that because they've got all these rifle ranges or whatever. Yeah, there's a bit of cost to that, but really the cost is we want only the right people to be able to come here because then we're an exclusive good. And you think, okay, well, that's fine. We've got that in UK with Eton and Harrow and all these things.
If people can pay for it, sure.
Yeah. But why is the government helping these with $1 million a year or so per these schools when they are literally saying, no, we don't want working class people to come to this, or we might hand out a scholarship or so if they're good at footy, And this is the problem. It's we are funding these schools that want to be exclusive. It's like, well, fine, if you want to be exclusive, do it yourself. There's no government benefit in us funding a school that is pitching itself to prospective parents as exclusive, as you're going to be basically able to network your ass off here at this school. If you come to this school, your kid's going to be surrounded by future wealthy kids.
Yeah. Current wealthy kids.
Yeah, current wealthy kids who are going to
be wealthy adults.
Yeah. So there's no benefit for that. And also what Sky's report points out is actually the results that are being delivered are negligible. Like it's that you're not getting a better education at a private school than at a government school. They might get better results. They might look like they're getting better results, but really what they've got richer kids who have got access to more equipment, more, things, tutoring
like
and stuff like that. So and we know that the real determinant of education outcomes isn't whether it's private or public, but actually the postcode almost. If you're in Burnside in Adelaide, if you're in North Sydney in Sydney, if you're in wealthy places, you're probably going to have better results from those kids than if you're from poorer areas. So it's to do with socioeconomic things, and it's like, okay, well, that's fine. Public systems should be trying to counteract that. But also then why are we funding private schools to basically exacerbate that? And here's the other thing. We know that this is the case because as more and more people are going to private schools, the gap between public and private school results is shrinking because what's happening, people from lower socioeconomic backgrounds are going into independent schools. So independent schools' performance is on average declining because of the socioeconomic factors, not because independent schools are becoming worse or anything like that. It's just that's the overriding factor. And so we have this combination of we've got this system where, look how much we're spending on education. Governments can boast about, we're increasing our spending on education. It's like, yeah, but you're funding private schools. It's making Australia's system a bit like America's health system, really expensive, not delivering great outcomes. And Sky's report, excellent report, is let's maybe stop doing this. John Howard thought this was a good idea. We've actually taken it and ran with it, and it's getting progressively worse. Why are we still doing this?
Yeah, well, when there's public schools that some classes don't have air conditioning, and then there are private schools with they're building a new indoor swimming pool.
Yeah. And
what are we doing here?
It's a stupid debate where, if we increase funding of government schools, apparently we have to also increase funding for private schools otherwise, the government is being biased and they're losing out now. And it's like, no, you're not losing out. We're just deciding to focus on these other schools. So
other countries don't do this.
No, we have trapped ourselves into this very neoliberal way of education. We fool ourselves that we have a public education system, and we don't. We fool ourselves that these schools are private. They're not. It's a bit like self-funded retirees. Are they really self-funded retirees, or are they just benefiting from massively expensive tax breaks?
Yeah.
And it's a bit like that with private education. Yes, they're private, but they're publicly funded as well. It's just that governments haven't looked at these and go, yeah, you don't need money. You don't need our support, and there is no benefit from the government giving money to King's College or any of these massively rich colleges around, because it's not like what service are they providing that their students would not be getting if we didn't fund it? It's not like they'll be going, oh, well, these kids will now have to go to a public school. It's like, no, they were going to King's College anyway for reasons that have got nothing to do with education outcomes, and yet the government's like, oh, we better fund them. And Sky's report basically says, yeah, let's stop doing all this. It's not good.
Thanks for watching. If you'd like to keep up to date with all our latest research and work, sign up to our newsletter. Delivered every fortnight, it includes behind-the-scenes updates from Richard Dennis, an exclusive cartoon from Judy Horacek, details for our upcoming events and webinars, as well as explainers, graphs, and not to mention the latest cutting-edge research and analysis from the team here on the key issues that are facing Australia. Click the button on your screen to check it out.